Good morning, traders. So we're still using the Bill Williams theory and looking at the Aussie South African top 40. Now, looking at the daily, this pin bar here is a wise man number one. Now, wise man number one on a daily time frame is not always a good strategy. It doesn't always play out. Sometimes it does. I think the wise man strategy is probably better on your lower time frames. And with the Aussie, anything from the 5 to the 30 minute normally plays out pretty successfully. Okay, so, but why I'm pointing this out is we did get a break below, which was an entry. Our stop technically should have been above there, but that is a very large stop. Okay, so it's a 500-point stop loss. But the thing is, we've pulled back, or we gapped back up to this area, and we've now had a red candle. So we could see this as a double top. We could see this as a pin bar that is going to play out. We've had a close below it. Again, it's the second close below it. So there are some warning signs here that we could have a move to the downside for a couple of days. Oscillator is grouped in the overbought territory, to the upside, and generally speaking, it's just a higher low. So there's the previous low, that's higher low in the bigger trend. If we just look at this on the weekly, you'll see we are above the weekly 200 moving average, but look at the oscillator here. And the last time it was in this area was pretty much over here. And then we had it here. This was a strong trend, but point I'm getting at is something eventually happened and we moved to the downside. So there is a lot happening here. We haven't hit a weekly level, which does concern me a little bit, but this is starting to look like a double top. I think I mentioned it in the comments yesterday on this video. We had a move, we had a gap, a bottom gap close here. Okay, and I think we also had a bit of a top gap close up. We'll have a look at that in lower time frames. But I think the reality here is the trend is up, but this is a potential double top. So you can see there was so it's a indecision bar, inside bar with confirmation, move to the downside, indecision bar, confirmation bar. So indecision bar means it's a range bar, spinning top, another word for it. But that's pretty much there, and then I follow through with a red bar. So that is a signal for me that is indicating short brewing. Okay, so the neckline for this, I'm going to just take that there, is a break below 47,137. So let's just say 47,130, just to give us some leeway. So 47,130, a break below that is going to validate this double top, which is not a bad trade. It's a 1,000-point trade. Okay, so let's just get down to the hour, see what we can see here. So you can see we had the gap up and we closed the gap. Okay, now bear in mind we have got four gaps. This was 5, so we've got 4 gaps to the downside still, and we have 1 gap to the upside pretty high up. So my view of this is pretty simple right now. We've had a very strong move down through the day. Then we had profit takers step in towards the close, and they did step in off this inside tail here. See, there's my fractal, and you can see that's exactly where the buyers stepped in, or the profit takers stepped in, and they moved it up. Now, 2 things here. Firstly, we've broken the alligator, come back to test the alligator. So I am anticipating something like that. Okay, maybe a bit of a move to the upside, but I'm expecting us to come and test the neckline of this double top. Okay, we look at the half hour. Nothing really that we can write home about. This is a mess. If you look at the awesome oscillator, there's no real momentum if you look at what's happening previously. So this is just all over the place and very haphazard. So when you're seeing this, this is indecision. Okay, so people aren't really sure what's going on, and you can see that with the tails to the ups and the down as well. So if you're looking, I mean, on the 12 minute, you see what I mean? It's like not really giving you a solid trend. You know, there are buyers that are stepping in between this, driving price up, sellers driving it down, and the close was pretty indecisive. So I think one thing that will work out is our closing range strategy. So in other words, the last hour of the day, which is these two bars here, a break above it is going to bring me to test this previous high here because it'll move the height of this range. A break below this is going to move to the downside. Okay, so that's kind of the one way of looking at it. The other way is I strongly suspect the opening range strategy will also work. So that is either your first hour or your first half hour of the day. If you break below it, then you're going to move to the downside. So it's like it played out yesterday. Okay, I don't suspect we're going to have a very big gap up. The things that can influence us at the moment is the rand dollar, which is 13.74, pretty flat at the moment, and 10 cent, which is down 0.6%. So I know some of the US banks had some pretty bad results yesterday, so that may drive our banks to the downside as well. And also you've had the Brexit debacle that's played out in the UK. Although I don't know how that's going to affect us. It may affect some of the British-based companies like BATSA, which would add fuel to fire. So I think the bigger picture here is potential double top that we need to watch out for. The intraday move today, I suspect it's going to be kind of choppy, I think, to use a lack of a better word. But the fact that we are in and out the alligator like this on the half hour just shows you indecision. Okay, and I think let's have a look at the ichimoku because you'll see what I mean by that. Okay, so the half hour, we've had a crossover here. We haven't had a twist in the cloud, but we've had a crossover and we're testing Kijinsen here. So this to me is a bearish setup and I'm looking for shorts. Okay, and the short entry for me is pretty much below this range bar. Okay, so that is pretty much my last hour trading. So that's what I'm looking for. We do have a little gap here, which I would like to see filled. So in other words, if we do gap down, I want to see us rally a bit, get us an entry for a short, stop above this fractional level here. So you want to stop above let's say 47,800. Okay, and then move the downside. The other thing that you want to do is just make sure that you've got your Fibonacci in here to see where we are. We are at the 50%. There is still a chance that we can rally up to the 61.8, but we've had a crossover here. So this to me, and we broke the cloud as well. So this to me is pretty much it's setting up for a short. If I look at the half hour, if we look at the hour, we've bounced off the cloud. We are bouncing off Tekensen at the moment. You can see there are sellers in this area. There were buyers previously. They are now sellers here. So that's kind of 50-50. It's all over the place. You can see how we're crossing. Kijinsen and Tekensen keep crossing over. So there's nothing you can read into that on the Ichimoku. The 4 hour, flat Kijinsen, flat Tekensen, flat cloud. That just indicates indecision. Nobody knows what's going on. Okay, so the trend is still up, so you still technically from a longer point of view be looking for longs, but there is a warning there with that double top. And the daily, well, that just how do I put it, that just strengthens my case for the short. Top of the cloud, I would expect a pullback, maybe to Tekensen here or even down to Kijinsen before we start rallying back to the upside. Okay, so that's my view on this at the moment. So I'm expecting a short. The question is, I think, wait for that first half hour of trading, see what happens. If we break below that first half hour candle, it's worth taking the trade. If we do move up into this 800 area, and then price action starts showing you some reason to get short. So in other words, a pin bar, a big engulfing red bar like this, I would take it with a pretty tight stop. And then I'm looking for this measured move here. Okay. So if it plays out like that, I'm looking for that to happen. So your target is down here, which will be 47,100. Okay. So this could be a nice 650 odd point trade to the downside. Okay, so that's kind of my view on this at the moment. But it is not, it's not concrete. I'm kind of 50-50 on this as well, which is pretty much the common trade across all three instruments that I'm looking at today. So just be careful, keep those stops really tight, and wait and see what happens. It could play out. It could also go against us. So just keep that in mind. I think the merit for the short is probably stronger than for a long. But it's not a perfect science, and we can always be wrong. We could, the only thing that I see for a long would be this kind of move here, like that. And the reason being, if I put a Fibonacci in here, you'll see we have come down to 61.8 and then 72.4 area before we turned at the close. So, there is kind of a merit for a long, and there's a merit, and there's a story for a short. And I had to put a percentage on it for the long, probably, I'd say 45, 55, so 45% chance of us going to the upside, and a 50% chance, a 55% chance of going to the downside. And before we leave, I'll just give you another little tip here. So the way I'm going to play this is really look for this closing range. Okay, so whichever way we break, I can actually just take it last half hour. Whichever we break out of this last half hour bar is the direction we're going to take. So if it breaks up here, okay, we're going to get a move to the upside, but that move to the upside, I suppose it doesn't really matter. It's going to take us to there, which is pretty much look to the left, you'll see some inside tails here. And if we break to the downside, it's going to take us to there. But if we do move to the downside, I suspect this bigger move will play out. And if we do move to the upside, there is a possibility that the bigger move will play out. But I think there's too much resistance here with it looking like a double top at the moment. So that's why I'm slightly more biased to the downside. Okay, so that's me for today, guys. Probably a little bit confusing. I know I'm a little bit confused with this at the moment. But as I say, I suspect I'm slightly more bearish than bullish for today. So I would expect us to either come test these lows or even move on down to the 30-minute 200 moving average here. Okay. Would I pick up a long from there? No, I wouldn't, because this double top is worrying me. So I think I'll just be in and out on a daily basis. Okay. Anyway, guys, that's it from me today. Hope it does help you somewhat, but whatever you do, please just keep your stops really tight, because there's a lot of indecision in the market at the moment. No real direction to the downside, no real direction to the upside either. It's we're kind of just hovering on tender hooks. Okay, anyway, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. Hope it helps, and I'll catch you later. Cheers for now.